The refund wave just slammed into the RV market, and the fallout is way bigger than anyone expected. Prices are crashing, dealers are scrambling, and 9 major RV brands are now facing a countdown. They may not survive. Units are piling up. Financing is slipping through the cracks, and returned inventory is creating a financial shockwave that's spreading through every corner of the industry. And here's the part nobody saw coming. The most recognizable names are getting hit the hardest. From sudden markdowns, to last-minute cancellations, to new R-Vees coming back bruised and unsellable, the signs are everywhere. If you own one of these brands, or plan to buy soon, this refund wave could change everything for you. Let's start with the first brand already running out of runway, Airstream. There is a particular feeling you get when you walk past an Airstream unit that has been sitting longer than it should. The aluminum still catches the light, the silhouette still looks proud, but something underneath that shine feels heavier than it used to. That weight is not cosmetic. It is financial. It is the pressure that builds. When a well-known brand reaches a point where the numbers no longer play along with the reputation. And the truth is simple. Even Airstream is not escaping the refund wave that is reshaping the market this season. Signs of strain around Airstream inventory become clear as units linger beyond the usual comfort window, creating mounting floor plan pressure for dealers. When buyers step away late, those coaches return as technically fresh but financially bruised, forming a second category of supply that distorts pricing. Once that split emerges, the polished brochure numbers diverge from the real figures written on dealer tags across lots. As the market continues to tighten, the official path is the one you see on brochures and manufacturer sites, the one that keeps the prestige narrative alive. The real path is the one that shows up on dealer sheets, written in pen rather than printed on glossy paper. Those handwritten adjustments tell you something no marketing language ever will. They say, quietly but clearly, that even a premium brand can get caught when banks tighten and buyers hesitate. When financing confidence drops, high-end towables become vulnerable to second thoughts, and the second thoughts turn into cancellations that land right back on the lot. None of this means Airstream is collapsing. Far from it. What it means is that the current climate exposes every weakness in a price ladder. And Airstream's ladder has rungs that depend on certainty. Certainty in lending, certainty in disposable income, certainty in long-term ownership. When those certainties wobble, the most polished brands feel it first because their margin for doubt is smaller than it appears. If you are watching the market closely, take note of this pressure rather than fear it. Moments like these reveal when a brand's story meets its real-world math. And that math always tells the truth sooner or later. Keystone. There is a particular kind of tension you feel when you stand on a dealer lot and look down a row of Keystone units that have not moved in far longer than the store expected. It is not the obvious kind of tension that comes from a broken feature or a glaring flaw. It is quieter than that. Almost like the feeling you get when you know someone is holding a bill they do not want to open. Keystone has always been a volume-driven brand. And volume becomes a strength only when the market is running in a straight line. When that line bends, even slightly, the weight of that volume works against the very people who depend on it. Inventory pressure becomes clear as Keystone units linger far beyond the old 45 to 60-day turnover window, with many now stretching into 90 or even 120 days in certain regions. Each added day increases floor plan interest and insurance costs, while the threat of a refund return looms. When customers back out late, the unit comes back as new on paper, but functions like a financial anchor for the dealer. None of that becomes obvious if you only look at brochure numbers. It becomes obvious when you see handwritten markdowns replacing polished price tags. Or when a store manager quietly mentions that another Keystone unit was returned after financing fell through. That is the part most people overlook. Refunds build a second supply channel that competes directly with the first, and few brands suffer from that split more than a volume-centric operation like Keystone. When too many returned units pile into the system at once, pricing logic breaks. You see adjustments that would have been unthinkable just 2 seasons ago, all written in pen, because the official sheets have not caught up. Keystone is not disappearing, but it is feeling every inch of the market's slowdown. And the way this pressure shows itself tells you exactly where the next shift in pricing will come from if the refund wave keeps growing. If these refund shocks and pricing shifts are matching what you're seeing locally, Make sure to like the video, subscribe for ongoing updates, and share your own experience below. Gulfstream. There is a distinct shift in the air when you walk past a Gulfstream unit today. The kind of shift that tells you something fundamental has changed beneath the surface long before the official statements catch up. Gulfstream built its long-standing reputation on delivering simple, approachable trailers that regular families could step into without feeling like they were stretching their finances past comfort. But the market that supported that formula has tightened, and the pressure is showing in ways that are subtle at first glance, but unmistakable when you pay attention to the patterns forming behind the scenes. You start noticing it in the timing of inventory turnover. Units that once moved in what dealers considered the predictable window are now lingering for stretches that raise quiet questions. 30 days becomes 45 days, and 45 days becomes 75 days. And by that point, the floor plan charges begin nibbling at margins that were never designed to absorb prolonged stalls. When those margins thin out, even a modest refund return can feel like a setback. A refund return, meaning a customer pulled out after funding was supposed to be finalized, pushes the unit back onto the lot as technically new but financially discounted from the moment it arrives. Handwritten markdowns replacing printed tags reveal dealers adjusting faster than official pricing can keep up, a sign of shifting conditions across the entry-level segment. Higher interest rates and tighter lending standards heighten hesitation among budget-focused shoppers, turning stalled decisions into cancellations, and pushing more Gulfstream refund units back onto regional lots. None of this suggests that Gulfstream is vanishing. What it does show is that the brand's reliance on affordability exposes it more sharply to the current financial climate. When the foundation of a market shifts, the brands built closest to the entry point feel the tremors first. Gulfstream is absorbing those tremors now, and the way these patterns unfold will shape how the next pricing cycle settles when the refund wave finally loses momentum. Thor Motor. Walk into any dealership that carries Thor Motor inventory right now, and you will feel something different in the air, something heavier than the usual tension of a slow sales afternoon. Thor Motor is the largest name on most lots, and when the largest name starts slowing down, the entire environment changes. You can sense it in the way sales staff hover around units longer than they want to. And you can sense it in the way managers glance at spreadsheets instead of windshields. The slowdown is not loud or dramatic. It is quiet, steady, and unmistakable when you know what signs to watch for. One of the earliest signals is the shift in warranty rhythm. Thor Motor relies on a massive network to keep parts and repairs moving, and that scale is usually their advantage. But recently, delays have crept into the system. Reports of parts taking 30 days, 45 days, and sometimes even over 60 days to arrive create a ripple that pushes customers back toward dealers before issues are fully resolved. When those delays stretch past a threshold, customers begin leaning toward backing out entirely, and that is when refunds appear. Refunds are more than a customer changing their mind. They are a financial event that forces the dealer and the manufacturer to absorb a unit that technically returns as new, but carries the hidden cost of lost time, lost paperwork, and renewed floor plan fees. Thor Motor pricing shifts have grown unpredictable, with units holding steady for weeks before dropping sharply in response to internal pressure rather than seasonal timing. High-volume production magnifies every logistical slowdown, creating inventory buildups that cannot move until prices adjust. While the brand is not collapsing, its scale makes it vulnerable. Large systems strain under tight credit, and each refund sends stress across multiple departments through the entire operational chain. The signs are there for anyone who looks closely. The delays, the irregular markdowns, the quiet frustration behind service counters. Thor Motor is not falling apart, but it is navigating a moment where every structural weakness becomes visible. And the way these patterns unfold will reveal how the next season of pricing and availability settles across the entire market. Fleetwood. There is a certain echo you notice when you step inside a Fleetwood coach today. A quiet reminder that the brand once carried the confidence of long road trips, steady craftsmanship, and owners who expected their diesel rigs to outlast anything else on the campground. Fleetwood built that reputation over decades, and for a long time, it held up with almost stubborn consistency. But the market has shifted, lending has tightened, And the same strengths that once made Fleetwood feel untouchable are now the same factors exposing it to the financial pressure rolling through the industry this season. You see it first in the way high-end financing behaves. Fleetwood lives in a price tier that requires stable loan approvals, and when lenders start second-guessing anything above the $200,000 line, the fallout hits instantly. Units that were supposed to fund on a Friday afternoon suddenly get held for additional verification on Monday morning. And that delay opens the door for doubt, hesitation, or a change in personal finances. When a buyer steps back at that point, the coach comes back to the dealer as a refund return. On paper, it is new. In reality, it carries the weight of unfunded interest charges, rearranged inventory space, and the very real costs of time lost. Fleetwood markdowns have taken on a sharper, more urgent tone, shifting far beyond routine seasonal adjustments. Prices can hold steady one weekend only to fall hard the next, driven by refund returns tied to slow repairs and delayed components, with extended wait times pushing some owners to walk away entirely. Fleetwood is not collapsing. The brand still carries a weight of recognition that does not disappear overnight, but it is navigating a moment where every flaw in the financing structure becomes amplified, where every delay has a consequence, and where every refund hits harder than it used to. This is what happens when a legacy brand meets a tightened market head-on, and the patterns forming now will determine how Fleetwood settles into the next pricing cycle as the broader industry continues adjusting to the refund-driven pressure beneath the surface. If you want the next phase of this refund wave broken down the moment it hits, subscribe now so you never miss the warnings shaping the coming market. Jayco. There is a different kind of pause you notice around Jayco units today, a pause that did not exist a few seasons ago. Jayco has long been the dependable middle of the tow wobble market, the brand people gravitated toward when they wanted something familiar, something steady, something they believed would hold its value better than most. But the last stretch of this market downturn has pushed Jayco into a corner. It has not felt in years, and that pressure shows up long before you ever look at a price tag. Rising costs across the towable segment reveal how sharply inflation reshaped Jayco's pricing structure, as steel, lumber, insulation, and supply chain pressures from 2021 through 2024 forced steady increases. A trailer that once sat in the mid-$30,000 range now enters the low $40,000 bracket with ease, reflecting production realities rather than ambition. The strain appears instead on the buyer's side, where budgets tightened, loan approvals grew tougher, and previous confidence no longer supports the elevated figures rolled out this season. A subtle shift appears in how long Jayco units remain on the lot, with trailers that once cycled quickly now sitting through multiple weekends unchanged. The slowdown is not about fading interest, but the barrier created by high interest rates and tighter loan checks. When financing collapses late, the trailer returns as refund inventory, technically new but already carrying financial pressure. You can often spot those refunds by the handwritten markdowns, the ones that drop sharply enough to signal that the dealership needs the space more than it needs to wait for the perfect offer. These are the adjustments that tell you hesitation is rising, confidence is thinning, and the numbers are beginning to push back against the old Jayco reliability story. None of this means Jayco is in danger of collapse. It does mean the brand is navigating a moment where affordability, lending patterns, and refund cycles are reshaping what used to be a very predictable lane. And anyone watching the market closely can see that this pressure is already setting up the next shift in pricing that will follow if the refund wave keeps building Forest River. There is a particular kind of heaviness that settles over a dealership when Forest River inventory begins backing up, and you can feel it the moment you step between rows of units that should have turned weeks ago, but somehow have not moved. Forest River is one of the biggest names in the towable world, a giant with more sub-brands than most shoppers can list. And when a giant slows down, the entire rhythm of the market changes. You can sense that shift, not because anything looks broken or abandoned, but because everything looks a little too still, a little too unchanged, a little too familiar from your last visit. The first sign is always the same. Units that used to disappear within a predictable cycle now sit on the lot through multiple funding periods. A trailer that once moved within 30 days now stretches into 45 days, then 60 days, and eventually beyond 75 days in some regions. Every extra day adds cost, floor plan fees, insurance, lot space pressure, and those costs stack against a dealer long before a potential buyer ever steps inside a unit. When the expenses grow faster than the foot traffic, hesitation becomes the unseen force that shapes pricing, and Forest River units begin showing markdowns that are sharper and more urgent than the official lineup would ever suggest. When financing falls apart or delays frustrate buyers, Forest River units return as technically new but financially strained, creating refund inventory that drags real prices below brochure numbers. The brand's large distribution network amplifies every slowdown, turning small delays into chain-wide ripples. Handwritten markdowns and crossed-out tags signal urgency, not collapse, as the company adjusts to rising inventory, tighter lending, and accumulating refund returns. Forest River remains active, but its size now exposes every pressure point shaping today's shifting market. Forest River is still strong, still recognizable, still a major presence, but it is also carrying the weight of a market correction that is rewriting expectations on the fly. And the way these patterns unfold now will shape the next R-Vee pricing long before the next buying season arrives. Coachmen. There is a certain shift in tone you notice the moment you walk past a line of Coachmen units today. The kind of shift that does not announce itself loudly, but settles in quietly, the way a cold draft slips under a door you thought was sealed. Coachmen has long lived in that middle slice of the market, where reliability and affordability meet. A place where families once felt confident that they were getting solid construction without stepping into luxury pricing. But something in that balance has started to tilt. And you can see the signs clearly if you look at the way inventory behaves when the refund wave begins tightening its grip around this segment. Service chatter around Coachmen reveals a widening strain as delays in parts, from wiring harnesses to interior components, stretch repairs far beyond the former one-week norm. Turnarounds that once took days now reach 2 or 3 weeks, testing buyer patience. Early frustration occasionally becomes refund requests, sending units back to lots as technically new but financially weakened inventory on arrival today. Sharp handwritten markdowns on Coachmen trailers reveal mounting pressure beneath the surface, showing how floor plan fees and slow-moving inventory push dealers to cut sooner than planned. Units that once turned quickly now linger through repeated weekends, not because the brand failed, but because hesitation has grown as interest rates and approval standards tightened. When buyers step back late in financing, those trailers return as refund inventory, reshaping prices instantly and signaling deeper strain across the mid-tier segment right now overall. Coachmen is not disappearing. The brand still carries a strong legacy. But the financial climate has exposed how vulnerable the middle of the market becomes when refund cycles grow, loan approvals tighten, and service delays stretch beyond what buyers are willing to tolerate. The patterns forming now show the exact pressure points that will shape the next round of pricing as the industry continues adjusting to this correction. Rev Group. When you walk into a dealership that still carries Rev Group motorhomes, you can feel the tension in a way that is different from any other brand on this list. It is not the kind of tension that comes from a simple slowdown or a string of slow weekends. It is deeper than that, the kind of pressure that settles in when a company at the top of the luxury and upper-tier market starts absorbing hits from every direction at the exact same time. Rev Group is the backbone behind names that once defined the high end of American motorhome, travel, holiday Rambler, Monaco, American Coach, and that legacy still carries weight. But today, the weight feels heavier than the foundation underneath it. The first sign shows up in the financial filings, long before it reaches the sales floor. When a recreational division posts a revenue drop approaching nearly 1/2 across back-to-back fiscal periods, lenders notice, suppliers notice, dealers definitely notice. And when those same numbers sit beside long-term liabilities climbing past the $1 billion line, the pressure becomes more than just a tough season. It becomes an environment where every delayed payment, every paused shipment, And every warranty backlog carries real consequences. None of this is rumor. These details sit inside public reports for anyone willing to read past the headlines. Rev Group's parts pipeline reveals deeper strain as luxury-focused motorhomes depend on specialized cabinetry, chassis components, and electronics that cannot be replaced with generic substitutes. When suppliers slow shipments or withhold stock until past invoices clear, repair timelines stretch from 2 weeks to 4 or even 6 weeks. Those delays turn early issues into frustration, and frustration becomes refund requests, with coaches priced beyond $200,000. Each refund delivers a financial shock felt across the entire chain. Dealers shifting once prominent units to back rows and repeatedly marking down prices reveal how caution is replacing confidence. Managers quietly reduce allocations, signaling a need to shield themselves from financial strain rather than chase volume. Though Rev Group remains active and visible, its vulnerabilities show through rising costs, extended repair delays, and tightening credit conditions. As refund pressure builds, the brand's position depends on how it adapts in the coming season, shaping pricing and stability across the next market cycle. That's the truth behind the refund wave. Now, I want to hear from you. Are you seeing this at your local dealers? Drop your experience in the comments. And if this opened your eyes, like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next breakdown. See you in the next one.